You're listening to the ACT podcast. You better like my daddy's show, you creeps.
All right, welcome back to the ACT podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Christian Tafoya. Today I'm joined off camera with the miserable Jolene.
Hello. I'm not miserable.
It's been a minute since you've been on, huh?
Yeah.
I am effing sick and it's annoying me.
Yeah. Anthony got me sick too.
Whatever, you got everybody sick. Jolene, of course, hangs around a bunch of dirty people at her job and got everybody sick at the home.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to drink. Shut the fuck up! Oh my God, what are you barking at? That guy? He's a nerd. Oh Jesus. Anyway, Jolene, it's been a minute since you've been back. Shut up, dog. I will end you, and I'll make it look like a bloody accident. Anyway, we're recording this a little bit later in the day, as the same day as we recorded the interview I did with my old youth pastor, which I gotta say, I was insanely nervous about that. I don't know if you knew that or not, Jolene, but I was super duper nervous about it. I guess I don't know why, but
Yeah, you were pacing around and making sure everything went perfect.
well, yeah, I always want that to happen because of I like to try and act professional, even though I may not be doing a professional thing. But I do like to make sure that it goes as smoothly for the guests, especially when they're not here and they're cutting out a piece of their time in their schedule for me and whatnot. It's like, okay, I want to make sure everything's ready to go and working well, especially when they're often, a completely different state. It's like, geez, is my internet connection going to work? Is it actually recording? Am I going to just be speaking into the ether and then we got nothing at the end of it? Luckily, that one went off without a hitch for the most part. But I think I don't know why I was so nervous about interviewing him. I guess one thing I was nervous about was the fact that I didn't think he would say yes. And you've informed me that I say naughty things. Is that true?
On occasion.
I mean, he even said that pretty much right out of the gate, was that I had that issue of crossing the line.
Yeah.
For,
it seemed like you had a good conversation, though. I was eavesdropping a little bit.
yeah, for a joke, I would say anything to cross the line. We did have a good conversation. I think that was the other thing, too, right? I almost felt like a kid again, where I was like, oh, man, I can't. I better watch my language, and I better not say anything too insane, which at the beginning, he was great about it. He said, say whatever you want, talk however you want, but, I'm probably not going to promote it. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. I'm like, I understand that. He's a pastor. He's got a congregation. He doesn't want everybody coming over being like, hey, why'd you talk to that Goonie kid who's talking about, fisting in one of his episodes and him having to defend himself and be like, well, Christ would have talked to that guy, which Christ probably would have talked to me. But and it's not like I'm doing anything bad. I just ask a lot of odd questions, I think.
Did you get more answers than when you were a kid?
I did. That actually was probably my favorite thing about it, was because I've had this perception, right? That maybe I've forgotten kind of how I was raised or how I think about things, especially things like the Bible and whatever, or lessons from the Bible. So I was kind of like, I don't know. Is this my mind failing me, or have I reimagined it? Because everybody kind of wonders sometimes, am I over exaggerating or underselling or whatever, things of the past? I've always thought I've kept a pretty level head about things, and I don't really try to exaggerate, actual events, as it were. So I was like, well, I always had kind of had this idea in my head with the church that, I had a lot of questions for him that they just couldn't answer or didn't want to answer and things like that. So that was exciting as far as that went, because he affirmed me in that, which was we didn't have questions and answers for you back then. Like, he said, you pressed us on a lot of stuff. And, he goes, sometimes we kind of went down the tactics of fear mongering or kind of shoving it off or saying, well, this is what literally it says in the Bible. So, just do that or whatever it is. And so, it was nice to hear that I wasn't crazy and that, yeah, I did have questions. They didn't have answers. And so now, and the other thing that was cool about talking to him was the idea that the theologies have kind of not necessarily changed, but the arguments for them have gotten better. And, because when I grew up, it was the hardcore atheist movement and everybody was doubting God and stuff like that. So, it was kind of the hip thing to question everything and have a more atheistic worldview, I guess. If that makes sense.
Well, you're supposed to have questions, but you didn't have any. You weren't really an atheist, though.
I went through a little bit of a period. I mean, again, like I told him, Sarah always told me, my ex always told me that I was more agnostic than atheistic, which is probably true. I don't know, but I guess I probably was always just more agnostic. But the other cool thing too was that he said, we were trying to make church cool at that time, and because he said, it was in such a spot where people were questioning everything and people didn't want to go to church. We were trying to seem cool, and it came off. He was talking about how the church was trying to make everything cool, especially youth group at that point was trying to make everything seem cooler than it was, versus just kind of like focusing on the message and stuff like that and making sure people understood it. Which I remember me and Daniel went to this youth convention one time, and it was at one of the big mega churches. I think it was at the same mega church that our previous guest Noah goes to for Christmas, but it's just this massive mega church, and they've got 100 buildings on property, and it's just gigantic. It's truly gaudy, and we went to this thing, and I didn't get to talk to Brandon about this. I kind of wanted to make fun of it a little bit, but I mean, I remember vividly irritating numerous pastors and stuff like that because we were just going around making fun of all the stuff that they were ripping off. Every T-shirt they sold was like in the style of the Mountain Dew logo, but it said like WWJD or Jesus Saves or whatever, right? And it was all these, like they even had one that was like, it looked like the WWE logo, and it was like Jesus on a cross or something. Whatever the slogan was that they had chosen to go with that. It was all just kind of generic and trying to make it look cool, but then it had this douchey, collegey, like church kid saying on it or slogan on it, and it was just weird. It was like, well, why don't you guys separate and be your own thing instead of trying to be a part of the world? Like, create your own thing, which is something, and Brandon said he'd come back on. I would love to talk to him about this, even just like with the culture and stuff like that, like as far as movies and art. I mean, art was like, if they did movies, Christian movies and stuff like that, like God's Not Dead is a horrendous movie. It's not a good movie.
No, they have good ones though.
Well, they do now, right? Now the issue with a lot of the church stuff now is like, or the issue with movies now is that it's actually the Hollywood side is more preachy, right? So all the Christian movies used to be overly preachy and put the message before the movie, and the movie was just kind of a vehicle to move the message along, and it was kind of propagandistic. But now it's now it's Hollywood's doing the opposite, right? It's kind of putting the message in front instead of letting the movie be a movie, and that just never works. It doesn't work on one side of the spectrum or the other. But I mean, yeah, some of that stuff was just dreadful and so douche chilling. It was like, why are we doing this? What were you gonna say?
What kind of church did you go to, or what was it?
Well, as far as a denomination, we went to it was It was a Protestant. It was called Assembly of God. So
Have you talked about it that much or not really?
I don't think so. I mean, it was more holy roller than, kind of like your kind of casual modern day Christian Protestant churches now. I mean, they really focused on like making sure you were speaking in tongues and things like that. But
Well, that's what I was going to say. Didn't you say it was kind of culty a little bit? I guess every church kind of is, but.
yeah, I mean, that's a pretty loose word to throw around. Is it culty? I think college is culty. So, I mean, it is. I mean, everything now could be considered culty. Any type of group or whatever, except for actual cults. Actual cults. I don't even know if people even consider those to be cults anymore. But they're just like they're clubs. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you wanted to describe it as that, it was definitely. He mentioned this too, which I thought was interesting. He mentioned that it was kind of like a club, like, oh, well, we want you to come to church, but you got to act this way first, then come to church, which I had a huge issue with, right? I thought that was the exact opposite of what you should be doing. If you're a pastor or a church, you shouldn't be driving people away because they don't fit into your box of what they should look like.
Yeah.
Which is partially why I was a little nervous talking with him too, because it's like I think I am somewhat religious. I don't go to church, and I don't talk about God every 5 seconds. But it's like I'm rough around the edges, and one of the issues I had with the church was that they refused to kind of go and get their hands dirty with people that didn't fit into their spectrum.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons I thought he was going to kind of deny the request, was like, listen, I don't agree with everything you've done in your life, and I watched it, and you talk about too many things, and you're too loose with your lips. I really thought that was because that's kind of how we were raised.
Yeah.
And Brandon, I don't want anybody to get confused like Brandon was some asshole or something, but he wasn't. Brandon was always the more open one of the two youth pastors that I had, and the more flexible with the things I could say or ask or get away with and things like that. Which I just, from my own personal benefit, thought was much more appropriate and better to do versus kind of shunning somebody away. But yeah, I was really thrilled with it. I really hope everybody goes and watches it. It was a cool conversation. He's going to come back on. There's so much that we could have gone on. We could have gone on for probably 4 hours talking about just all the different stuff, and not even just like biblical stuff or the church itself. But it was one of those things too where it was like it was cool to see that we could. I haven't talked to Brandon in probably 10 years, 15 years. I don't even know. And so the fact that we could kind of just pick up our conversation from where we left off and just like we had never left. And still understand each other. That's the other reason I was nervous. Sometimes you get into those moments with people and you're like, oh, I love this guy when I was, 18 or whatever. Then you meet up with him again. You're like, oh my God, I have nothing in common with this dude. Like, this could be a nightmare. How long am I going to have to act like I'm enjoying this?
I like, though, how it was more of a conversation and it wasn't like, oh, go to church, do this, read the Bible. All the like demanding things. Yeah.
Well, we talked about that too. Like, should the church be a little more demanding now? Yeah. Like, has it gotten too loosey goosey one way or the other way?
I did hear you say that you were leaning more into Catholicism in a different episode. So, you can be a Catholic now?
No, not for you. Never. That dream shot out of the sky. It is weird. I really do like a lot. I think the reason I've leaned more into Catholicism is that for whatever reason, I think that just different people I've seen on the internet and stuff like that. Bishop Barron and Peterson and things like this. A lot of these, or Matt Fradd, a lot of these guys are Catholics, and they talk about it in a very elegant and sophisticated way. That church has been around forever. So I mean, there is while it is dogmatic, there's probably some truth to the things that they say and things that they do and how it should be, and Christ ordained it or whatever. And so, what was interesting though was I did finally work up the gall to ask Brandon about some sexual things, and I gotta say his answers were surprising to me. I was like, oh man, I'm more hardcore on some of this now as far as how you should think about it, not necessarily in practice, but how you should think about these things, right? Like, am I doing things the right way or whatever, right? And these were questions that I had when I was younger that I never would have asked, like, hey, can I get a blowjob or anything like that? Not that I asked him. I didn't ask it like that. I was respectful. Yeah, but like, was oral sex okay? Because they would talk about like masturbation and stuff like that. Like, you were going to go to hell, and I was like, oh my god. Well, I'm 15. I can't keep my hands off myself. Like, I'm gonna go to hell every time I beat off. Like, what the fuck? Like, I have this natural urge and desire to do it, and then when I got into a relationship, I learned that, partners might, kind of beat each other off to warm it up, get into the foreplay section. So it's like, am I going to go to hell for that? Like, is that a sin? Like, and when he answered, I liked his answer. I liked his answer because that means I might not go to hell.
Wait, going back a step though, you said that the church, you think that they need to be more inclusive for people?
Inclusive but firm.
Yeah, because I was gonna say the hardest part about finding a church is because there's so many. There's a lack of rules, and so anyone can just go to church, and then their views and what they're preaching is not what people should be.
Yeah,
hearing.
well, and we talked a lot about that. We talked a lot about hippie Jesus and promiscuous Jesus. Yeah.
Promiscuous Jesus?
Yeah, well, it's like, as long as you're not hurting anybody, God didn't specifically say anything about it, that kind of thing. And it's like, he did say something. I would have loved to have gotten more into this with him. He did say something about, like, well, some of that's Old Testament law that we don't, like, you wouldn't be able to drink grape juice now, which I'm okay with not drinking grape juice. I'm much more of a wine kind of gal. But
Oh, I have another question, because I just grew up Catholic my whole life, and wine is what you drink. But why do Christians drink grape juice and all of that? Are they not allowed to have wine? Or is it just like so kids can have it too? Or what's the reason behind
well, yeah, from what I knew, it had to do with there was a very hard line about, like, don't drink to get drunk and things like that. And it's a temptation. And, especially our church, the church we grew up in, I mean, they catered to a lot of ex-alcoholics and stuff like that. So I think they just thought that was the safest thing to do. But even if you're an alcoholic, you should be able to have a sip of wine in a Holy Communion without falling off the wagon, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what we were kind of getting into with, like, I think that the more I've learned about religion and things like that, it's kind of supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be kind of difficult. It should not be a cakewalk. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was really fun. I hope to get him back on so we can talk about it some more. Maybe I can ask him if his church does wine or grape juice. And that'd be that's actually kind of ironic, because when he mentioned the grape juice thing, I didn't even know that was a law. So, and he didn't exactly shut down the idea of having sex on a period either. So that was interesting to me. I thought for sure that was, immoral.
Is that in the Bible?
He did. If I remember correctly, I haven't gone back and rewatched it, but yeah, it was any kind of sex that was considered dirty or impure was against law, right? And so sodomy, which, if you don't know what sodomy is, Jolene, it's when you take it up the butt. You got to talk into the microphone.
Shut up.
So if somebody were to take a wiener up their butt or whatever, it's considered impure, and it's against the law. I wish everybody could just see her face. Oh, I am so sorry, guys. You can totally hear my infection in my voice. Like, you can hear that breathy. See? Anyway, So that was exciting. But then I also teased at the end of that, we got some big news coming on. So Jolene, last time you were on, you were just a regular, dirty, awful human. You weren't a special, privileged, entitled person. Would you like to share anything with any big news that's gone on in your life? Got any new titles?
I might be a doctor now.
Oh my God. She's a doctor. I'm a doctor too.
Not a medical doctor.
I am a
Just
medical
physical
doctor.
Therapy.
I am a real doctor. Wait, what? You're not a real doctor either?
Nobody's a real doctor.
You're like Dr. Jill.
Do not compare me.
You've got a doctorate.
A doctorate in physical therapy.
So
Which still
Jolene.
helps people, but I don't have to cut them open.
Yeah, but it doesn't really help anybody.
It's gonna help you with all your problems.
I don't have any problems. I don't even know what you're talking about. Make sure you're talking right into that microphone. You're being real quiet. But yeah, I don't have any problems. Is it going to be able to help me with a heart attack or anything like that?
I know CPR.
Well, that you need to go to college and get a doctorate for that.
I can fix your back and your neck and all your pain because of your old age.
Yeah, I'm my advanced age. Well, the thing that we teased though is that so Jolene, congratulations, she is a doctor. I am a doctor of love, and she is a doctor of physical therapy. So we teased that we're probably going to be moving soon, and because now you can get a real job and things like these, things of this nature, right? And so it looks like we could possibly be moving here within the next few months, and I will finally get out of Arizona.
And he's going to be moving to the place he's been talking about for the last
I'm going to
5
God's
years.
country, people.
Where
Going to
is it?
God's country. I'm not going to say yet. Jolene wanted me to keep everything quiet and whatnot because, she's ironing out some details and some getting the deets, right? Is that how you youngins say it? Is that how professionals say it now?
That's how professionals say
You're
it.
getting the deets.
Getting the deets.
But it looks good right now that we should be out of here within the next 2-3 months. So that I'm very excited about that. I love Arizona. I don't want anybody to think I hate Arizona. It's wonderful if you're rich. If you're poor, as I am, and you have zero skills or trades, it might be considered a nightmare. And
You don't have zero skills or trades. It's just Flagstaff is not a great place to live unless you're retired or rich.
which is almost hand in hand at this point, right? And a lot of the boomers are pretty rich, but they say they're not. They act like they're still in the Depression or something, which is pretty fucking annoying for my 2 cents. It's like, don't act like you got nothing. Like, shut the hell up. You got like 50 properties. They're like, well, I've only got $2 in my wallet. It's like,
The people that own our properties are making bank, and we live in nothing. A
ghetto town.
shoebox.
Yeah, we live in ghetto town with a line of homeless people right nearby. It's a very exciting view. Actually, while we were recording this, a homeless man walked by my window and looked at me.
Maybe you should have him
Which
on.
is why the dog was barking. So she's got good instincts to ward off the weirdos. But so that's pretty exciting. I'm excited about that. Hopefully, I'm hoping where we're moving, we'll have much bigger options and plans, and actually, it should help out with this podcast in some way. I'm sure there's an immense amount of interesting people there that I could talk to and get to know and things like that, and people that could help me. I've always kind of been looking for like a full-time permanent co-host, and where we're going, it's a little more entertainment driven in some ways, and so I'm sure we could find some other
You gotta
narcissistic
tease it a little more
weirdo.
than that.
Well, we're going where we're going to the motherland, the country, I think, right?
Very
Maybe the
green.
king of rock and roll lived in this state. I don't know. But maybe there's an awful team that lost to my Rams in the Super Bowl that resides in this state. I'd like to say we'd like to see a repeat, but that will not be happening because they are so bad. So bad.
Speaking of the Rams, how do you think they're going to do this week?
Fine. I don't really want to talk about them though because it'll date the podcast. If I was doing, I can just edit it out. Oh, so before we go though, can I complain to you because I wanted to talk about this and maybe some other listeners will kind of understand where I'm coming from on this. I'm a poor working class blue collar, you know. I'll do the shitty job, you know. Like I was a janitor already and things like that. And, you know, right now I famously might work for a gas station, but I may or may not work for a gas station. You know, super flashy, obviously way more credible and elegant than, you know, being a physical therapist or anything like that. But, you know, I the point being is that I've had to grind my whole life and whatnot. And, you know, there's a little bit of an age gap between me and Jolene, you know. Was it like 13 years or something?
Yeah, something like that.
13 years age gap. And so, you know, I've been in these streets for a minute, as you would say, right? Is that how the professionals would say it? I've been in these streets.
Yeah, your first time out of Flagstaff ever.
Yeah. But now, no, we're talking about something else completely, though. What'd you just zone out while I was talking?
No, you.
Jesus. I can't even get my friends to listen to the podcast. My guests are zoning out while they're on the podcast. It's holy Moses. Maybe I should just stop this whole thing right now and just not even continue with it. Just not even ever gonna. This is just a dead dream.
I was going
it's a pipe dream.
With your saying.
So anyway, the point is, yes, I've been in these Flagstaff streets for a long time, and you know, I have been accused frequently by you, Jolene, of being a negative Nelly and just a nasty source of bad energy, right?
I have not said that. You can be negative.
You said I'm negative, and I never.
Positivity.
What'd you say? You said I never celebrate your successes, right? I don't care about your success.
You always think worst case scenario.
But you know, I've always fought against this. I think I'm very supportive and very positive. I'm realistic.
I think you're very supportive, but I would not say you're always very positive.
Well, no, because there's not a lot to be positive about, quite frankly. It's a pretty awful time in the world.
It isn't the greatest time, but
it's not the worst, though. Remember, folks, and there's a hint of positivity. See? But
good job.
You may or may not have been offered a position somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And what was my response?
You were very excited. You were very supportive.
Now, and then, but the reason I'm bringing this up to the audience, right? Because maybe I'm crazy. maybe I really am just negative, but I was very, very excited. Now, other people, though, that you are familiar with were not as excited, right? And I thought this was kind of bizarre because I couldn't figure out. Now, explain to people what was going on. You don't have to say names or anything like that, but.
We have a lot of family in Arizona that don't want us to move far away. But they're excited for us to start something new.
Nobody ever said that, though.
Visit a lot.
Nobody blatantly said they wanted us to stay in Arizona. They were being kind of negative about the job, right? You were being kind of negative about the job.
I think we are taught a bunch of different things and told a bunch of different things when we're applying for jobs out of grad school.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes prices and wages that you think you're going to get, you don't get, or moving pretty much across a bunch of states, their wages are going to be different there.
Yeah.
And they might be lower, but it's still a good opportunity and still way more than.
Well, okay,
what
so
we're
I'll just
making
tell
now.
everybody kind of what she's saying. I thought it was crazy. Everybody was talking about the money. Everybody talks about the money, huh, Jolene? Everybody just money, money, money all the time.
Because everything's
Right.
so expensive now.
Well, everything is so expensive, but let me just put it like this, okay? Jolene was offered a grip of money that I've never been offered in my 20 years working. I just thought that was a crazy reaction. And people, I talked to Noah about this off the air, and he said, we work hard for our degrees, which you can defend that statement. I'm not going to defend it for you, but you can defend that.
We've had this conversation a lot. I think certain professions need college and need those degrees, such as doctors and physical therapists and stuff of that. And there's also a lot of people that don't need to go to college for what they're getting a degree in. I won't
Right.
say what type, but you can
But it's
kinda-
fair to say, though, that the college system isn't exactly popping out their best and brightest at the moment,
No,
right?
It's definitely broken right now. But
And so I don't know. I was telling Noah, I think there's a little bit of an entitlement from a lot of the college kids. We see it all the time where I work when we're hiring. I sensed a little bit with this current situation, which is, I put in a lot of work, and Noah said, yeah, we're a little bit entitled. We put a lot of time and effort into school, and we're promised things, and we want to be given those things. And I'm like, I always thought the idea was that you were promised those things, but you're still going to have to work your ass off to get to that, right? Like, if I went to medical school, I wouldn't automatically think that I should just making half a $1,000,000 a year. I would think that I would still have to start out, make a name for myself, get a reputation. I obviously would be making more than the guy at McDonald's, but I wouldn't expect to be making like top tier whatever.
No one should expect that. That's unrealistic.
You still got to work your way up. I don't know. What's the cap off kind of range for a physical therapist? You could probably get into triple digits, I'm imagining, as a yearly salary at some point.
And this job that I may or may not be taking, you can get into triple digits. And that's one of the lower paying ones.
That's a lower paying?
Well, I'm like, depending on your clientele and all of that, you can get into triple digits pretty easily, but you're going to spend most of your time working and not as much time at home and that type of thing. So it depends on what your goals are and what you want, and if you want a family and stuff like that.
Right. Well, okay, so I was kind of surprised that when you were talking about getting this job and there was discussions about you accepting it or not. I was just shocked at the fact that people would be talking about money like this, because I'm not to spill out too much tea, but you didn't exactly light the world up last year and making a lot of money,
No, I was a student.
You were a student and you worked very, very part-time. And so for me, if I was you, this is the point, right? If I was you, if I went from making like $3,000-$4,000 a year to being offered a massive more amount, I would just be tickled pink about that. I didn't see that though, and then you thought that I was being negative about that, and I was like, no,
that's not.
I said you guys are being negative.
It's not about that. It's about we have just a lot to think about when we move all the way to another state that's nowhere near here, and we have to think about all the other costs we have to deal with before we're even making that money.
Now, the reason we kind of chose this state was because it is cheaper in every metric you can find. It's got lots more opportunity for somebody like me, so I always can fall back on a McDonald's or a Burger King if I absolutely have to, but I don't want to, is the thing, right? I would like to kind of get out of customer service and service industry stuff in general. I mean, there's just so many more opportunities there that I'm thrilled about it just for myself. But yeah, I don't know. What did you think about that? Was I being negative, or is this my problem as a human? Do I lowball myself and go like, oh, just take it and run? Because that was kind of my attitude, was like, just take it and run. Like,
I think sometimes you do lowball things or lowball yourself.
But kind of insulting, like I'm making about $20,000 less than what you were offered right now, and I worked to get up to that spot. So
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa. I'm like, yeah. When you said take it, and then other people said, wow, that might be kind of on the low range still. I was like, holy Moses, are we kidding?
There was lots.
Is
more
this a
factors than
competition? You
just
trying to feel
the
good about
money.
yourself, or what? What were you saying?
There was a lot more to consider than just the money. There's a lot of other factors.
Like
that
what?
play a role. Scheduling.
The schedule was a
insurance, all that.
cakewalk. I didn't even get that either. I mean, come on, you gotta
That
be real
was
on
part
that.
of the reason I liked it. Was the
She
scheduling.
already knows, right? Any kind of job in the medical industry, you're not gonna work on Martin Luther King Day. You already know you're gonna get all those days off. You're obviously gonna get all your holidays off, so that's a cakewalk too, right? Whereas, like right now, like I have to fight tooth and nail or make up short stories or whatever just to get out, so I don't have to work a holiday where I work now, right? Anytime government job or doctor's office or whatever, you're gonna get every single day off. And then on top of that, there's tremendous flexibility. He's like, oh, my cat got sick today. Mr. Snuffleupagus got sick, so I'm gonna call out today. And they're not gonna like threaten to fire you for not showing up or being reliable or whatever. Like in the jobs I'm in, the service industry jobs, it's like, if you don't show up, we're gonna murder your family. Or if you say like, oh, I'm sick, they're like, are you really? Are you actually? Are you full of shit? Like, it's like whereas like you've got like a grown up job, you got an adult job, and people go like, oh yeah, fine, yeah, I'm just gonna call it tomorrow too. Like they're just way more relaxed about
You can't
it.
just call out willy nilly.
I know, but the fact that you were even thinking about like scheduling, 4-day work weeks is pretty good. I'll take that every day.
That's what I said. That's part of the reason I liked it was the scheduling. But I'm saying you have to consider all those things.
Yeah.
Especially
But
when
you're being a little dishonest. You were being a little dishonest. It was mostly about the money. I guess the point of the story is the moral of the story. Jolene may or may not be Jewish. No. Right? Why are you not laughing? You're not laughing at anything.
because you're not funny.
I'm so funny.
You need more money when your significant other costs you lots of money and wants everything.
What do you mean I don't cost you any money?
Wants to go to all these concerts and wants all these expensive gifts.
Oh my God, people. We did not go to one concert. We have not been to one concert for a year. And you have not paid for any of my subscriptions. What are you talking about?
I'm saying when you have someone who does all that stuff.
Oh my
someone's
God.
gotta bring the money.
I don't have Netflix. I don't have Amazon Prime. I don't have any of that stuff. That's you have all that stuff. You get all that. I don't have any of that shit. I buy some records every now and then, or a video game here or there. I do not have crazy habits. You're the one who goes to Dunkin' Donuts every day for coffee or Starbucks.
Coffee is so cheap and it's a necessity.
Coffee from Dunkin' or Dutch or Starbucks
Compared
is not
to
cheap.
Buying gifts and all that.
Or you can just make your own at home, like I do.
So why don't we get an espresso maker?
I make 2 pots of coffee a day, and I drink it all. And if you want an espresso maker, I'm sure you can afford one. We've seen with the amount of money you're gonna be pulling in, you can afford 2 espresso machines.
Wow.
They'll save you. They'll save you lots of money for. You can't say coffee's cheap though. $7-8 for coffee.
It's not cheap. I'm saying.
Yeah, you're the one who
coffee-
needs it. It's
a
a
coffee
necessity.
once
Did you
or
guys catch
twice-
that? She says it's a
Shut up.
necessity.
If you get a coffee once or twice a week, that's cheaper than buying stuff from the store.
You think?
Yes.
I don't. I buy the coffee from the store and it lasts me 3 months.
I'm not comparing our coffee at home. I'm comparing your gifts and items you like to buy.
What gifts?
Whatever you buy.
I don't buy
You buy
anything.
snacks and all that.
Look at what she's drinking now. Suja. This
Guess
stuff
who
is.
made me get it.
This is like hippy dippy. I don't even know. This is like what rich people drink, right? It's not even real
It's
juice.
disgusting.
Who even knows it? This is gonna make a mess in my toilet at some point. Anyway. Well, that's all there is, right? I think that's it. I just wanted to do a quick recap, kind of tease the things that are coming. I thought Jolene could come on. I thought she'd have more questions for me about talking to a pastor since she hasn't been to church in about 1,000,000 years, but
I go to church.
not in
I
not
asked
a
why
long
you wanted to
time.
be a Catholic.
I didn't
you
say I
just
wanted
said
to be
I
a
don't.
Catholic.
Yeah, but you're going back.
I said I've
and
leaned
forth.
more into the Catholic teachings. I didn't say anything about being a Catholic. Are the two correlated? Do I need to be a Catholic to get into
No.
heaven?
Well, we can talk
We're going
about...
to say yes.
No. I was going to say we can talk about why you don't want to trial churches here.
Well, because we're
what
moving.
you have against... No, okay. We've been talking about this the past year, trying out different
I always
churches.
knew we were going to move. I didn't want to get attached to the
this is-
people.
No.
That's
Give a
true.
real answer.
That's the real answer. If
You-
I'm lying, may I be struck dead. No, I don't want to say that. What were you going to say? You were going to say something.
Why don't you just... So you don't want to go to church.
Uh-huh.
What do you do instead? Who do you listen to? Do you read the Bible? What types of... practices do
Lately,
you do?
I've been listening to the Bible on audio on YouTube, especially when I'm going to sleep. There's a nice British man who reads it in a very soothing, calm voice. The other day, I was listening to the Psalms, but I do that. I listen to a lot of theological podcasts, things on theology. I don't listen to like pastors and stuff. I do like Andrew Klavan. I think Andrew Klavan, even though he's technically a political commentator, I think he helps you see the world through the eyes of a Christian and how Christians should see the world through the eyes of a Christian, which I really like him. I think he's really good, really, really informed. He's like my pastor. That's what I would expect to get out of my pastor, right?
Yeah.
Is how he talks about things. But, yeah, I don't know. Why? What's the point of... What were you getting at?
I was just asking what you do instead for other people who don't go to church. Because I would like to go to church, but you don't really want to trial any here. Maybe
Well,
that'll be
no.
different where we go, but...
No. I mean, my church is wherever I feel good stuff coming out of it, I guess.
But you got to go and trial them to see what pastors are preaching good stuff versus BS.
Well, I don't like mega churches.
Yeah.
That's for certain. I definitely don't like mega churches. I don't know. We'll figure something out. We'll look into it.
Well, and I didn't have as many questions for you because I didn't hear your conversation.
Oh, yeah.
So how am I
we're
gonna ask?
we're recording this, like 2-3 hours after I talked to B-Man? Yeah, I think so. But anyway, well, all right. Well, this has been fun and exciting. I'll probably be back. I'm gonna try and do some sports podcasts specifically for the playoffs. The playoffs have been so exciting. So, if you can tell, I'm a big basketball fan. So, I'm gonna probably try and do some sports podcasts for that, and then we'll see how it goes and where it goes from here. But I'll be back soon. Thank you for listening. Like
Go
and
Dolphins.
subscribe. The Dolphins are already eliminated. They were eliminated before the season started, as I told you they would be. Who else was eliminated, Jolene?
Who do you have in mind?
Was their head coach eliminated? Because me and Jolene made a
think so.
bet that they would be eliminated. I said that they wouldn't win more than 5 games.
And I won that bet.
I'm sorry.
They won 6.
They
Thank
won
you.
6. They won a whopping 6 games. I said their coach would be fired. And guess what?
No,
He was fired.
This is an ongoing.
It's not ongoing. They're looking for a coach. It's an
or-
ongoing coaching search.
No, because he said that he has to be fired during the season.
I did not
Technically-
say that.
Technically,
Why did
their
I say
season
that?
was over.
I would not
and
have
then
said
he got
that.
Fired. So I think
Never
I
in a
won both
million
those
years
bets.
would I have ever made that bet. I said I wouldn't be surprised if he's fired in season, which he almost very nearly was.
But he wasn't.
I just said that was a statement. That wasn't the bet. Oh my God. Anyway, follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your bullshit from. And you want to plug anything?
Follow the podcast.
Okay, but what else do you want to plug?
I don't need to plug anything.
You can't plug your butt. We learned that's a sin. Anyway. Thank you for listening. This is The Act.